Hello, welcome back. Another 1972 Diana episode. This one, just tidying up some of the loose ends around it. I've been told my intros are too long. I'm going to keep them much shorter. If you like this kind of stuff, subscribe below. Helps me, helps the channel. If you want to give me a thumbs up, if you want to give me a thumbs down, can't please all the people all the time. If you want to contact me, Church Classics, the one word. Oh, just silly. If you want to PayPal me, there is a link in the description below. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen as well, because some people who watch on the telly have been emailing me saying, I can't actually see because I don't use my computer, and they want to buy me pints or support the channel. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Right, enjoy the video. Right, here we go, under the dash. So just four or five screws just to slip it under. Right, okay. This is all the LPG wiring. The reason I couldn't pull it out is because it's been fucking cable tied. There's a world of other accessory wiring and so forth under here. Lots of these sort of things with bare wires hanging out of them, which I really don't like. There's also the ubiquitous Scotch block. So that'll be coming off. So it's a good job I took this out, really. I'll see what Dad wants to do about radio. He might not want this. It's a bit wanky. It's a Barry Boy, Kenwood, blah, blah, blah. I don't say Barry Boy. It's got a cassette on it. It might go in my great collection of things in the sky. The windscreen vent wasn't even attached. Up there. Look at that. We're already improving things. And again, ties all over the bloody place. So I'm going to go through. This whole thing needs tidying up. I don't know what this one is here. There's a black wire with a bad crimp going into a red and a black wire here. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it goes to. I'm going to have to find out. So I'm going to crack on with that, see if we can tidy up this accessory wiring under here, and then pull the crap through the bulkhead, which is all going to over there, and I can see another zip tie over there. Yeah, let's get this thing going nicely. It's not good, is it? Right, let's get the LPG stuff out of the way first of all, then I can start to diagnose the rest of it. But, I thought you might find that amusing. It's always amusing when we find this kind of shit. It's not surprising, not unsurprising, I should say. But it's already starting to look a bit better. This is what I was saying, once this is out of the way, that's out of the way, you're going to get a much tidier inner wing area. The relays down here, underneath the earth connection, those two, I believe, are for the electric fans. That's the little fuse box I was telling you about. I'll just tidy it all up. I've got no reason to want to lose these electric fans. I might paint them, but they're looking all right. They look okay. If they work, they're staying. And then on this side of the engine bay over here, we've got some shonky looking fuel line. Goes to a cut-off solenoid, which was part of the LPG, then goes off into the carburetors. So all that's going to come out as well. And all this lot up here is the external amplifier, ignition amplifier for the 35 DM8, I think it is. This one. When I pull it out, I'll have a look at it. But that's the least of my worries right now. That's the original wiring down there for the ballast resistor. Look at the state of it. Ugh. Right, tank's out. Tank is out. That was a piece of cake, actually. There's only two big straps to go over the top of it, as I expected. Nice big frame underneath it. That's all the pipework that goes towards the engine. That's the feed pipe there. I did the feed pipe first because it faces towards the back of the vehicle. That fella there. And I thought if there is any gas in this tank, then that's where it's going to come out from. Now it might have a non-return valve in it, I don't know yet. But the tank is as light as you like. There's no real weight to that. Compared to the toroidal tank that goes in there, I'll tell you what, that is light. Might have that for my car. Because the toroidal tank, it just weighs like the moon. Now, we need to get the rest of this framework out of here. But what I'm probably going to do first of all is more fucking tie wraps. What I might do first of all is find the loom that goes underneath the car, just snip that so it's all out of the way, get all the vaporizer and shit out of the front of the car. What was a dead mirth? Oh. I also found the starting handle, look. Tucked right down the back here. There's a starting handle. Look at that. It's always good to find, isn't it? No jack in it though. There's holes drilled through the floor, but we'll be able to fix those. we'll be able to resolve that situation as and when we get to it. So for now, I think I'm probably going to close the boot. I'll put this cover back over the top of the tank because I'm going to need that later on. And this little cover just goes over the top and stops. Well, it's supposed to have all kind of cups and things and zip ties and God knows what else on it. You need to be extra careful when it comes to LPG. That's why they kind of sent it in this country. But if you have a leak on your LPG tank, you want to know about it before you light your cigarette. There's a few videos online. They're probably amusing if you were that way orientated, but the videos online show what happens when you spark up your cigarette and your car's full of LPG gas, but you didn't know because it wasn't scented. Yes, they survive it, but I'm pretty sure they can be deaf for a short while, or even a long while. I don't know. Right, let's get these bits off next, because these are now redundant. They can go. Bye-bye. I'm just replacing the two heat hoses at the back of the engine here. Much more accessible on the carburetted engines than they are on the fuel-injected engines. You haven't got all the plenum and everything in the way. One of the other problems that Dad had last winter was that he couldn't get the diff lock engaged on this thing. And I've just found out why. And it's a bit of a bizarre one, this one. So I thought I'd video it for you. When you put a vacuum hose on a car, can you make sure it's a vacuum hose and not a bit of fucking airline from a fish tank? That is just so... I mean, honestly, the engine's going to suck. That just... The whole pipe has collapsed. You can see it. It's like a snake skin. Wrong pipe. So that's almost certainly why the diff lock wasn't locking. I've routed the new fuel line. It's a bit of ethanol-friendly fuel line. As I'm led to believe, SAE J30R6 is ethanol-friendly petrol pipe. And that's what I bought here. Don't buy this shit off eBay unless it's a trusted trader. Get this stuff from a reputable supplier. I'd imagine that there is great potential for people to fake this stuff. Okay, been fiddling around with these electric fans. I pulled all the wiring out because I couldn't work out what the fuck it was doing. We've got a 2-phase thermostatic switch here. I don't know if it works. We'll give it a go. And the way that the system was wired up was slightly bizarre, in that you had a relay for each of the fans, which I can cope with, but it was only using one of the triggers up here. And everything was wired up so that when it got to the lowest temperature, both fans would come on. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I want to do it that way, maybe I don't. I mean, the first thing I did was I separated the rest of the loom away from the fans themselves. So I got the earth for the fan, which comes off this nice brown wire here. You've got to love brown wires for earth. And then we just try each of the fans in turn. That one works, and they both work. It's quite a nice little setup, actually, these fans. I'm going to find out where they came from, because they fit quite nicely onto the Range Rover Classic radiator. Yeah, whether they're ideally placed or not. This car's never overheated, but then the temperature gauge doesn't work on it either. I've got a new temperature gauge to put in. But I thought what I would try and do, there's a couple of wiring diagrams I've been kind of thinking about, but effectively I think what I'm going to end up doing is tidying up much of the wiring that I've got here. So we've got the two relays. We've got the feeds that go off to the motors. We've got the feeds that go to the switch. And then we've got the fuse. Now, the only thing that's missing on this is it was hooked into the ignition control feed for the LPG. Okay, which was what the third fuse was for. So I'm going to need to find myself a better ignition controlled feed, and this should be one around the engine bay I can use. What I might actually do is, rather than have all this wiring kind of going all the way over here, is have the whole lot over here on this side. It just makes sense. We've got more access to fuse box, we've got more loom on this side of the engine bay, and also it means that a lot of this wiring isn't going to be going that way. Now, as it stands at the moment, let's just take this earth off here. Sorry folks, jiggling the camera around a lot. As it stands at the moment, we could potentially move this lot over here, put these nice connectors onto the there we are, big waterproof connectors. They'll do the job. when it comes to making up these accessory looms, by the way, you don't have to use bloody Scotch blocks and shit like that. I tend to get yourself some half decent tool. But that's a bolt connector crimp. And butt connectors that are, look, like that. You poke the bare strands of wire in each end, you crimp it flat, and then you use this is a heat shrink around the outside. Use those. Don't be fucking around with it. Use decent lengths of wire. So what I've basically done is I've taken the two looms that come off the two different fans. I've made up a loom to go onto the fan switch. I've got a high speed or high temp, low temp and an ignition control feed. So all of that is sitting there. Ignition control feed to fall in with the Lucas scheme is white. The two fan wires are green. And then you've got the high and the low here. Okay, and then the last thing I've got here is the earth brown wire. I know it's what was on the fan loom already, and I will connect that to an earth. But all I'm really doing now is just binding this loom up, and then the objective is just really to keep this engine bay looking a little bit tidier. I'm going to route all of this lot through the bolt pin over there by the fuse box there. And then I'm going to actually have the relays and the additional fuses and so forth inside the glove box. Just keep the thing looking smart. I'm taking my sweet time over this, but loom's already in place, just needs to do the earth. Put all the ends on the loom, bullets and spades and so forth. Made up my little rig using a couple of Land Rover, old Range Rover relay terminals. Got the kind of chunky wires for the power. You're not going to need chunky wires for the earth or for the signal, but that's all ready to go in now. The only thing I haven't done yet, the only thing I need to put a bullet onto that white wire. What I've then done on the back of the fuse board, which you can pull out from the bulkhead quite easily, I've spliced a bullet connector into a brown wire and a white wire. So I've now got my constant live, and I've got my white ignition controlled feed. So one will be battery feed and one will be white feed. I don't think these fans are particularly high current. The fuses that were in there when I got this thing were 10 amp. The wire's well over 10 amps, so I think we're okay on as far as the circuit's concerned. The wires, I've tried to maintain the same kind of diameter of wire as we've got on the things already, so we should be okay. The only concerning thing about this, well, the only bitchy thing about this, is that the earth is brown and not black, but never mind, we're not going to go on about that anymore. What I'll probably do is I'll create an earth point up here somewhere. One of these bolts up here will do as an earth point. I'll just check the continuity through. Then once I've got it all working, because I've got this nice 5-way bullet point thing in here, I can then put an override switch for one of the fans once I know which relay is which fan, which fuse is which fan. Hear what I mean? It's all right in there. Right, I'm going to feed this lot through now, so that can go back. Actually, no, I'll leave this out for the time being because I want to be able to make sure I push the bullets in properly. This can feed through, though. That can feed through. I've had to cut another hole in the bulkhead. Just wasn't enough room to pack everything through where the loom goes through. It was all going to run a bit on the tight side. I thought, well, no, it's just utterly pointless. So here we are. Now, what's that caught on? Come, you bastard. Get in there. Tosser. There we are, he's in. There he goes. Right, there goes the loom. I've got a grommet on the cable already because we need to make sure we get a grommet on this thing. I don't want to be chaffing wires against anything now, do I? It's a good word, chaffing, isn't it? Chaffing. Right, that can go up there. And then, right, I'm going to go feed this thing in now, and then I think we'll connect up the leckies and see if we can actually get some go out of this. Now I can actually, I don't have to, I can fire up each individual fan by really just connecting an ignition control feed to one signal wire or the other. And the two signal wires, that's one of the signal wires, and that's the other signal wire. So they're basically these two here. That's these two here are the fan feeds. So I want the green wires to go onto these two, and then the two coloured wires, the stripy wires, go onto these two, and that's an earth. Alright, because the relays need an earth. And the rest of this, two brown wires go into the brown terminal, white wire goes into white terminal. And yeah. Right, so all I've done is I've connected my test jump lead up to the ignition control feed, test it on one position, that's this fan, test it on the other position, that's that fan. So we know the electric circuit's working. The only thing we don't know yet is working is the switch. Otherwise, that works. And the nice thing about all this is we've got rid of all the shit around the engine bay here. I know. I'm quite pleased with that. It's been a good effort, that. Nice and tidy. Routed through. I haven't tied it up inside yet. But basically what we've got, just to gravity, behind me, what we've got inside here is the module that I made up. Spliced into the loom. A little earth up here. And that's it. That's all we need. So I just need to find a way of securing this somewhere sensible. Zip tie it up there somewhere, put the glove box back in again, and I think we're done here. Our work is done. I don't know whoever thought that was a good idea. That's the feed for the fuel pump. That is the fuse for the fuel pump. I've seen better, I've seen worse. But it'll work. Just tidy up all these things under here, get rid of all this speaker wire, don't need it. Because we're going to get rid of these. I'm going to put some new nationwide trim covers on the doors here, get them looking really smart. Because they're all peeling back at the top and it's not beautiful. Here's a wee anomaly for you. Right, okay, now, so just like kind of lobbing everything back together again. Flip the ignition on. No ignition lights. Oh, now there is. Now there isn't. When I reach up behind the pod, fucking thing. Oh, bastard. What you Adam and Eve it? It really isn't very helpful, is it? Pod's going to have to come out. What I was going to do though was kind of tidy all this mess up under here. I mean, this is kind of borderline criminal. That fella there is for the electric fuel pump. But let me just look. Why? And then on top of that, we've got this absolute bundle of joy over here. Look at this wire here. So we've got a Scotch block, and we've got two crimps and a change of colour. I think people who don't know their car electrics really should step away. It's fun though, isn't it? Right, what I'm going to do with this here, because we've got more white wires than we've got terminals, so you actually buy these fellas. Because I'm going to go with the bullets again. This one will take 6 bullets rather than these ones which take 4. Because I'm going to need to put those 3, the fuel pump, and also the ignition control feed for the what's its name, electric fan. There you go. I knew the answer. I knew it. Right, in order to get that pod off, there's 4 screws. There's one there, and there's one right at the back there, 2 on the other side, and the pod comes off the top. We're going to have to work out what's going on up there. I don't know why the cable's suddenly come loose. I've got this little bundle of joy here as well, which comes out. It's not even tight in there. Look, it just fell out. I don't know what the fuck that is. That is a brown wire that is crimped on and goes into a green wire. And it was going into... Which terminal block was it going into? Was it going into that one there? A brown and white. So Lord alone knows what that was. I've got no idea. I will check it. Someone's been through it with the bloody insulation's been ruptured as well. It's not uncommon to find the electrics have been fucked around with. It really isn't. I'll get it all sorted out. It just wants a damn good tidy up. The other thing I found out, because Dad was moaning about his car was a bit on the vague side. Okay, there's something gone wrong there then. That's all play. So what's that? That's getting on for 4 inches of play at the wheel in the straight ahead position. Well, that's an MOT failure, isn't it? Furthermore, to the steering issue, we're in the engine bay. Here's the that's the intermediate shaft. That is going nowhere. That is not doing anything. That's all play in the steering box, that. I'll have a go at adjusting the steering box, but normally when they get that bad, it's because one of the compressible kind of shim things in there has compressed too far and it's fucked. We can actually double check. Oh, I'm just going to get down onto the floor and just check. So there's no play on the output at all, which I wouldn't, yeah, I'd expect there to be no play on the output. In fact, can I get under here and get my hand onto, yes I can. So I'm turning the input shaft and there's nothing happening on the output at all. Steering box is needing some serious attention. Very serious attention. You can see I didn't service this last time. I don't put these, I always use the Range Rover original ones because they work much better. Right. Oh, I've got to get back up again now. It's a long way down there. It really is. Right. Tidy that lot up. That fellow there is for the hazard lights. I've got rid of all the Scotch block connectors. I've put on bullet connectors. I've got the wire in the right colour. These wires here are for the electric fan when I get the new switch through in a couple of days or so. Now, that's good news. So I'm pleased with all of that. The ignition lights are now behaving themselves. I don't know if the ignition is even on, actually. The battery's not on, but... oh, yeah, there we go. Ignition lights. Everything appears to be working inside. There isn't a steering lock on this thing, though. Right, okay, that takes me on to the second point. So I have adjusted all of the play out of this thing, and I've still got... it's difficult to work out exactly, but I'd say there's probably just over an inch of play at the rim there. And I have adjusted it as per the book. It's fairly straightforward adjusting these things. You undo the lock nut there, and you wind the adjuster in, but do not over-tighten it. The adjuster, that is. Obviously tighten the lock nut, but don't over tighten the, but it's right on the very, very, very limit. So I think there's something broken inside the box. We've still got that much free play at the shaft. So I'm going to look at that. Oh joy. Marvellous. Absolutely marvellous. I suppose we'll check it starts really, because I haven't done any of that since. Of course it starts. Ignition lights on now. Briefly. I wonder if the diff lock now works. No, it still appears to be working. That's going to need some more investigation, isn't it? It might be that the cables have fallen off, I don't know. We'll have a look. We'll double check it. Dad said it stopped working in the middle of the winter last year. It could be that the bulb just got in the top there, which is what doesn't really help it on these things. I'll go through diff lock on another video, I'm sure. Yep, pipes on. Could just be that the bulb is fucked. Could be a fairly easy fix. I would have thought that would have actuated by now, unless it all goes. There's a vibration in the exhaust under here. baffle shaking itself loose in the exhaust. I'm going to have to get Dad a nice stainless exhaust system like I've got on mine. Don't know if make a difference. Yeah, sounds like the exhaust baffles are, it's not leaking, is it? No, we're not leaking. Yeah, it's a baffle. Or there's a stone in there. I have actually got another silencer unit. I might try putting that on it. Right, now it should be starting to warm up. No chance. Coolant needs topping up. Oh, temp gauge is working though. It's quite helpful, isn't it? Right, coolant levels topped up. Temperature gauge is working. Still no life at all from this fella though, is there? That's going to need a test. Well, it's a good job I didn't put the fucking carpet back in again, wasn't it? That would have been annoying. Oh yes. I probably need to get my little thermostat, infrared thermostat out as well, so I can just check the temperature. Warming up nicely. Choke's in, isn't it? Yes, choke is in. See what these carbs are actually drawing through. I'll do a proper video on tuning these things up, but there's a couple of very basic checks you can do. The main one is this one. Oh, look at that. Sweet, huh? Wedging in. He's sitting around the 9 mark. As you see, so they're balanced. Doesn't mean they're necessarily running properly though. Then the other trick I do is just lift the piston up very slightly, and it should, the rev should drop and then it should recover. This is the basic check. I'd say they're working all right. Top pipe's hot, that's good. Thermostat's opened. We've got a leaking radiator. Coming from the top hose, I think. Maybe that's why it had two tie wraps on it. Two hose clips on it. I've not even pressurised the thing yet because I haven't got the cap on it. Not very helpful, is it? Right, that is properly hot now, that top hose. And the gauge is climbing up. So I'm wondering if that switch even works. There we go. Right, which fan is that that's just kicked in? That's the one nearest the one nearest the inlet has kicked in, which is good. Just when I said I don't know if that switch even works, but we'll leave it running for a second because we should get the other fan to kick in. So that was just over 80. I've got 84 on the top of the rad when that first switch kicked in. I can't see a huge amount of point in just having the one electric fan on here. It seems to be working quite hard in order to keep that going. But now you see we're dropped down to below halfway at fan should go off.